Welcome back, everyone. Please like, share, and subscribe. It's Tuesday. I'm pulling oil dipsticks. This car is close to being due for an oil change, but not exactly. And she's down a quart or so on a near 200,000 mile Chevy truck. So let me just show you what we got. Let's go. Let me pit it down. Yeah, right there, baby. Yeah, she's using a little oil. So at this mileage, what do I recommend for this car? Let me get the stick back in. I would say, I don't know if I would do a full Valvoline Restore and Protect. I might just maybe like a 5 of regular with 1 quart, because I have some reservations of the neglect. Let me just pull this off. So yeah, see that stuff right there? Valvoline Restore and Protect's not going to do the chunkies. And that's just on the oil cap. So there's no moisture in it, so that means he drives this car. That means it's getting hot enough. But the chunkies tell me that, yeah, that's could be asking for a problem. So I would say a mild service and see if it improves. Yeah, that's what I say about it. Pull your oil cap, and if your oil cap's got chunkies in it, man, I would just, that's even more of a warning. Like, hey, dude, like, you've already neglected this enough and abused it. So, what this other part of this video is about is more for Caleb too, is that GM is saying, hey, I guess the Environmental Protection Agency has a lot to do with the engineers, and I don't see how. I don't see how engineers could build a product and not test it, especially an engine, right? Like when you talk about the riskiest thing you could build for a customer, right? Or do is an oil change or an engine, right? The riskiest. That you don't test those products or systems enough to know that they just do not last, they do not work. So GM's to a point with DOD, and so is probably a lot of other manufacturers and VVTs and cam phasers and all this stuff, that it is financially killing them. All the manufacturers, but GM is in the limelight right now. To where they have to go to the government and say, hey, we have almost 1 million vehicles we have to put engines in for free because the DOD system does not work. They're only talking about a specific year or years. They're not talking about going back to first gen, which is still a very problematic system.
Well, the new ones are snapping crankshafts.
And more.
Yeah.
And more. Now, I seen another GM engineer talk about an engine that made it 4 miles. So in a piston, there is the pin, and he said the clip came loose. The clip comes out, and it breaks off, and it scores a cylinder wall, and then the piston jams, and then it snaps off. 4 miles. What does that tell you? That is not quality checking the work. An engine that's mass produced, GMV8. Mm-hmm. Typically, if you have a C-clip or a ring or a press fit that doesn't, because some of them are just pressed in there.
Yeah.
That doesn't hold. That tells me the quality of the assembly, the quality of the build, the quality of the materials, the quality of the installer are not on the level. And if they would have ran that engine on a engine dynoed all their engines, they would have found that there's a high failure rate somewhere and halt production. That's just one other part of GM failure is their piston and rod assembly is not staying together, and they said it's from a clip failure. I'm going to tell you it's not from a clip failure. I'm telling you the clip was machined wrong, the piston was machined wrong. They're floating. It's a floating piston. That's why there's circle clips or a clip that holds that pin from sliding back apart. The wrist pin they call it. And if the wrist pin is doing this constantly, bang, 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 it's going to knock it out no matter what. So
the tolerance is too loose.
it's just horrible The American people are getting ripped off. The people worldwide are getting ripped off, and GM's doing it. I'm selling you an $80,000 or $100,000 Escalade, and it's already had 3 engines and 20,000 miles, or whatever other engines out there. I mean, kind of started with
Well, yeah, I mean,
the first gen LS engines on trunnion failures, right? But now they're going to the government and saying, hey, dude, we need permission to delete this DOD system on these cars. We just can't go and keep putting engines in these cars.
Well,
And if we're going to put engines in them, they have to be DOD deleted.
I was talking to Cam about getting like a late teens Silverado for my next truck.
Yeah.
And he said the first thing you should do is delete the cylinder deactivation.
So GM started that in the 70s, late 70s or 80s, I believe, is where it shut down the valve train or the ignition. I forget what it was. I think it was the ignition. What do you need, Rachel?
On confirming all these texts are for this. To
Yes.
confirming oil dirty, low on stick.
Well, it's close to being due and it's low. So I don't want to do a full.
It takes 530 full synthetic.
I don't want to do a full R&P because the reasons why I don't want to do a full R&P, it's got chunkies from lack of maintenance.
So what do you want to do?
I don't want to risk him having engine
wouldn't
problems. I think what I would rather do is maybe
Just do a full synthetic.
just do a full synthetic and maybe just a mild detergent, and see if we can. If the oil cap gets clean with the mild detergent and the dipstick get clean, then I know that it's the softer approach. Because I'm afraid Valvoline Restore and Protect is going to remove too much of that going on inside there and cause problems.
The headlamps,
They're broken. Like,
these ones are messed up or something.
The ones that he
customer's
wants to
request was to
install.
change the headlights. He gives you a box with broken parts. Hey, Mr. Customer, are you aware that the parts that you brought are broken? We don't
He
know.
says yeah.
Well, then what does he want me to do? Glue them in? One side's broken, the other side's not.
They're-
My
I
opinion
thought
is he
both
should
sides
just
were.
let you get headlight assemblies with new bulbs and sockets and
Both.
yeah, and then tell him that he might want to get some fender flares for this, and we'll put them on and make the truck look nice if he's trying to keep it. Hide some of that rust. We can treat it a little bit.
Are you going to go to pick up these parts at Volkswagen Cherry Hill?
Yeah, where's the work order?
On the paper?
And it says go pick up the parts at Volkswagen.
Not so that Volkswagen. I texted you too.
Well, you said that he was going to go, and then you
Do you
said,
want me to send him? He might need his car part while he's there. I think he's at work too, so.
I mean, we're not busy, so I'll go. Not that I want to drive for 30 minutes, but I will.
Take his car.
Burlington Volkswagen, right?
Cherry Hill.
Cherry Hill.
Cherry Hill Volkswagen, okay. More dealer parts with low profit margins.
Yep.
There's literally no markup in dealer parts
Because they're so expensive.
because they're so expensive. And here's my opinion, right? GM and all these other places are not using the best engineers. They're not using the best products. They're advising the worst maintenance practices, if not at all, to their customers on how to maintain their race engine, because this is what race technology is.
Yeah.
And not testing, right? Because you're the test dummy at.
It's the testing.
It's
That's
the testing.
issue. I don't necessarily think the engineers are dumb. I think
No.
the
I'm gonna tell you-
or that they're not the best engineers. I think they're just they don't know what works in practice. All they're doing is looking at a computer screen and saying, "Oh, that's genius," and that's it. Just serious lack.
I would
of
tell you
testing.
if you had a machinist,
That's different.
not an engineer,
Completely different.
correct. Look at these engines, go through it with a microscope and say, this shit's not going to hold up.
Mm-hmm.
They know.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell me everyone on John Forces or top fuel dragsters with 10,000, 20,000 horsepower engines don't know the limits of parts.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have VVTs and, DOD and all this stuff. So my point is, they could put tunes in these cars, actually create fuel that produces less emissions. I'm sure it's there, it's available. How much more will it cost? But we don't need DOD, we don't need VVT, we don't need all this fancy timing shit. We don't need all that. Put a bigger catalytic converter on the car. Teach the customers how to maintain them and use quality oil. We can get the same horsepower and the same fuel economy with less.
Or stop killing everybody that makes a hydrogen car or a water-powered car.
That's a fact. That is a fact. That is a fact for sure. We don't need low tension piston rings. We didn't have that before, but we're low on power. But now you have so much more technology that you don't need all that stuff. There's plenty of power and plenty of economy. There's guys driving around here, 1,000 horsepower cars getting 26 miles to the gallon on the highway. Like, you can't tell me it can't be tuned in. It can.
A lot of the time, those are big turbo cars, though.
I get it. But
Yeah.
I'm saying you're talking 2,000-3,000 horsepower engines, if not 1,000 horse. Like, I guarantee my race car is going to get at least 20 or 25 at cruise speed. And as soon as I get beat on boost, it's going to do like 8. There's no doubt. Just from me driving back and forth, I'm getting like 8 miles to the gallon, but I'm not even at highway speeds where it's efficient.
I don't know about all that.
Look up a new Corvette and see what the gas mileage is. Just
Yeah,
to
but
give you an example.
Yeah, that's true.
They're not giving 8 miles a gallon on the highway.
No, they're not going to 8 miles a gallon.
So we can definitely, not we. One, we're the test dummies. Two, they don't care once it's out of warranty. That's why GM's going to do nothing for the previous engine owners. They just left a sour taste in my mouth. They basically stuck a gun in your face, emptied your wallet, made you pay for a truck that the engine is not going to last. What is it?
Well, I looked at the 15 vet. There's 29 highway. So
2015 Corvette 29. So you
You'll
can't
probably
tell me
get
you can't.
20.
It can't happen.
Yeah,
I know it can. Happen.
You'll probably be getting 20.
Yeah, and even with E85, if it was more
E85, you'll be getting way less.
Well, what I'm saying is E85 burns cooler. It produces less knock gases. So if there was more E85 around, then it was affordable. Is the key word. That they could change the whole level of emissions, and it's not. E85 is like almost non-existent in certain places of the world.
Around here, you got it.
It's slim.
There are 3 gas stations that I know of.
Come up with all the technology, flex sensors, come up with the production of fuel, the corn, and this and that, and then do nothing with it. So, GM, they were the bank robbers. I'm going to tell you that right there. And they're not the only ones who don't test nothing. That's a fact. They slap that crap together based on whatever, crackerjack engineer they have, and input from, I guess the input says from the EPA or the government says, hey, this car has to have this. I don't know the real makeup of it, and it doesn't work. So, they have to go to them and say, hey, we tried, maybe we didn't test this enough, but we can't put this in production. So give them the DOD approval, right? And then have them upgrade the exhaust system with, ULV converters on everything, so it's a little bit more costly. And make sure the customer knows how to maintenance that engine and change the oil and do the tune-ups. It'll be less there's so many moving parts to why an engine fails. One, it has to be engineered and built right and tuned right. Then once it hits the customer, it has to be maintenance right. And that starts in the service dealership's base. Not only that, the customer themselves, and then go from there. But yeah, we're gonna see. Like I said, Cadillac had the 468 engine, and that was a disaster. And then you had everyone go into VVTs, control and timing, and deactivating valves. Like, that's just a disaster. Just a disaster.
VVTs aren't always bad.
I think in the first generation, it's good. Now that it went to the point to where nobody's taking care of the car. They're putting the cheapest fuel in it. They're overextending oil changes. It's just a recipe for disaster. I don't know. Anyone else want to say anything more about this? I hate to be negative Nelly all the time, but I don't want to buy a brand new anything and have to worry about, we see it every day. Honda, Toyota, Ford, every manufacturer is plagued with major engine issues. On top of the customer not checking their oil or changing their oil regularly. Plagued. And then what they do, they go buy another car that has the same characteristics, just because it's new at $800 and $1,500 a month, and has the same issues as soon as they get it, if not just before the warranty expires or after the warranty expires, and then they go, "Oh, sorry, you're out of warranty. Nothing we can do for you. Go kick rocks." That's a big word in dealership, is go kick rocks, Mr. Customer. Yeah, nothing's covered anymore. And by the way, you changed your oil once in 4 years. All right, so this is going to be pretty hot. I'll try and stay on top of it and let you know where it goes. I think they should unwind this technology. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for the consumers. And even if you put everyone in a battery operated car,
no.
you're going to go into the biggest problems. Who's trying to plug the wrong charger into the wrong spot, upside down, backwards?
Not even that.
Not doing the trans fluid, not doing the filters, driving their...
There is no transmission on those TVs.
Well, it's a gearbox. No, look it up. It's a gearbox. I had a Tesla. They all have a gearbox. There's fluid, lubricating, coolant, antifreeze, there's filters. They're going to have the same habits. They're going to think they have a battery operated car and all it needs is a wash. And that's not the case. It still has front end parts. It still has moving parts. It still requires maintenance.
Okay, the motor and battery are going to go long before it needs it.
Average EV motor lasts 100 to 150,000 miles. Once it's out of warranty, can you swing 20 grand for a new motor? Nope. You're better off just driving some older car that doesn't have all the technology in it. All right, let's figure out what we're going to do here today. Thanks for watching.